This is TWiT.
Ultra. Nothing better than when you guys have the hardware in hand.
Oh, wait a minute. Check this out. Check this out. What? Scooter X just pointed out. It's the S22 on 2/22/22.
There it is.
Oh, my God.
There it is.
Didn't even plan that, but that's awesome, Scooter X.
Or did we, Jason?
Sorry. Yes, we did.
And also, as you can see, as Flo holds the phone up for our video viewers watching the phone, the Samsung Galaxy S22 features 22 holes on the back of the phone, filled with lenses and lights and connectors.
2, 3,
22,
4,
21,
18.
22.
Yes, totally.
Don't forget the flash. That's one.
Right.
22 holes. It's amazing. So
not over exaggerating at all, Ron. So you've got the 22 Ultra, also known as the Note reincarnated, because it holds the S Pen in the device. This really is a Note by another name, right? That's exactly what it is.
Yes, it really is just the Note. Everything in this
it's just a Note by any other name.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I had to think about that quote, by the way, and I realized, I did not pay attention in Shakespeare at all. Just being honest there. But anyway, so yeah, this is the Ultra. I'm going to do this so we don't do the glare from my screen. But this is the back of the Ultra, and you'll notice it has 5 lens looking like things on the back. They're not all lenses though. Only 4 of them are actual cameras. And I've used them all a lot, extremely extensively. And, I felt like instead of me just rattling off specs, do you guys want to just ask me stuff?
Yeah.
So we can make this, because I've just been living with this and I wrote about it and I'm sick of writing about it. So if you could ask me, that would make it so much easier for me to talk about.
Yeah, because I don't think we need to do the standard, spec rattle off thing. We've been kind of shying away a little bit from that. It's a little mind numbing when we do that.
You can read it on GSM Arena or whatever follow there, phone site you
or Gizmodo.com.
Yeah,
Gizmodo.com.
Yeah, exactly. You probably want to go to Gizmodo.com. Just do a search for Florence Ion. You'll find it. So, right off the top. So I actually earlier today pulled out, I had the Note, I guess it's the last Note. I wish I had brought it in today, but I totally forgot to bring it in. And then this one, and I pulled them out and I literally put them side by side on top of each other. They are the same size. They are the same thickness. The S Pen is in the same spot. So it truly is. This truly is like a Note by a different name.
Is that the one that Leo bought?
Yeah.
How many holes did the other one have, Jason?
Well, yeah. It I can't remember if it's the 5 of them. It probably actually is, because it's the old, it's the Note as well. So it's their premium. But, obviously it looks different back here. So where do we start with the Note? Is there anything that you realized that you couldn't do with this that you could do with a normal Note, or was it pretty much like a facsimile as far as that's concerned?
Ooh, fax, huh?
Sorry, throwing out old technology that we haven't talked about in decades, but there you go.
No. So here's the thing. I even though I have the Note in my possession and I have access to it, I do not feel like reaching for it, probably because it's not my primary phone. So anyway, I'm not reaching for it. But also the stylus just adds an extra step for me that I'm not interested in adopting into my lifestyle. So it
takes practice. It takes dedication to really get used to using the S Pen and relying on the S Pen. Yeah, I have a hard time with it too. Yeah.
But I will say this, because, I have a lot of Note users in my life, and they've figured out how to keep that S Pen so snugly in there that, you do forget that it's there. And then when you remember it's there, it's nice and helpful. So if you're willing to pay the extra, I'm going to say $300, because the Galaxy Note, excuse me. See?
Yeah.
By the way, every review that you read of this, everybody made the same, oh yeah, I kept calling this the Note because those of us who have been, and we've been using this phone for almost a decade. Yeah. This model of phone, and so I'm so programmed to call it that. It's
just a name, totally. It's just a different name, same device. Yeah.
But it's the ultimate Samsung phone you can buy. Totally. And so if you are willing to spend that extra $300, now back to that, it's $1,200 for the 8 GB of RAM version, but do not buy this phone and not get the 12 gigs of RAM. Like you're wasting your money if you do that. I'm just being honest with you.
I agree.
Get the 12 gigs of RAM. I have only been living and operating with 12 gigs of RAM for the last 2 years, and I'm not going back to 8 because there's just no use to living with the minimum if you're going to spend at least $1,200 on a phone. Just try and find the extra 100 somewhere. I don't know what to tell you. If you're already spending this much, just go get the 256 12 gig version and work your way from there. I think you'll be a lot happier. So I want to start with that piece of advice first.
And that will help on longevity. For whatever reason, longevity is what my brain wanted to do. It's weird being in the studio again. That will help for longevity, especially considering the fact that Samsung announced, 4 full version updates, 5 years of security updates, right? And we're always talking about like wanting our phones to last longer, wanting them to get more updates. At the end of the day, if you've maxed out the memory, if you get the Note and you get it maxed out, I have a really hard time believing that 5 years down the line, this thing's not, it's going to be in a way better position if you did that than if you don't. 8 gigs versus 12 is a big difference as far as that's concerned, and will be especially in 5 years.
Yeah, but okay, so we just quickly snapped to my review on Gizmodo.com, and my headline is Samsung's Galaxy S22 Ultra is too much.
Is it too big? Or is it too expensive? What do you mean by too much?
It's too much phone.
It's too much? What do you mean by too much phone?
There's just I was very overwhelmed reviewing this device because there's so much about it that you can, flip through and use. And, here's this new S Pen feature. And don't forget, we got to try out all the cameras. It took me, I guess let's jump to the cameras. It took me a while to figure out how to use each of these 4 cameras. That 5th little camera lens that looks like a camera lens on the back is a depth sensor of sorts. And, it's supposed to help with things like portraiture. Thank you, Jason. Yeah. Thank God, by the way. Bless you, Leo, for buying the burgundy version, because that is the beautifulest one.
Yeah, actually, I think that's the version that he bought. He has his. This is actually a review unit that a rep from AT&T sent me. So,
how nice of AT&T to send you the burgundy one.
Yeah,
which is very pretty.
It is nice. It is very nice.
Yeah, it's very pretty in person.
I mean, the camera array is really striking. Like, it's really nice. One thing I've noticed is, when I carry this around in my pocket, this thing collects pocket dust around the cameras like nobody's
Michael
business.
Fisher said the same thing. Mr. Mobile was also complaining about the dust. And when I saw he tweeted about that, I took this out of my purse right after I had my goodness, my English. Right after I read that tweet. And it was covered in dust. I had to clean it meticulously before I took any pictures of it for my review because they were so thick around the edges. And I told, by the way, my mom this because she was like, "Oh, you have the new phone. I've been thinking about buying it." And I told her about this. She's like, "That's okay. I'll just go to it. I'll just clean it every time." So, okay for my mom.
I mean, it's also a large, expensive device, so you probably want to have some sort of, maybe you don't, but I would want to have a case on it.
I had a case on it. So, where did I put it?
Yeah, I've got.
Here it is. Okay. So I had this cheapy case. They sent me an actual case. I just haven't put it on yet. But I bought this case for $11 on Amazon right when they sent me the review because, I'm scared to break these things. And as you can see, it cuts out just around the camera array. So you're still going to get a lot of dust around that regardless.
That's true. Still going to collect in there. This is an Incipio case that Incipio sent me for review as well.
Nice
it's kind of like a see-through kind of thing. But, anytime you do that, it really does, no matter how you slice it, it eliminates the kind of slenderness of what you have.
That's exactly what I was thinking. As you snap that on, and nothing against Incipio, this is what they do. They're making cases, but it goes from an elegant modern device to what looks like a bulky, chunky.
Totally.
This is why I don't like cases on my phones. This is why it's so.
Yeah, in my life, it's a necessary necessary evil.
Well, yeah, because you're like, the drop from your hand to the ground.
Yeah.
It's like two flows.
$1,500 device is going to be shattered glass if I don't do something like this. But yeah, it really does take away the slenderness of it. It takes up more space in the pocket, all that kind of stuff, so that's the trade-off. Has the space for the S Pen down there.
Yeah.
So then,
yes.
Well, I was just going to say, so that's kind of the look of the cameras and everything. Mm-hmm. I was really excited about the 10x optical zoom, and I played around with it a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, I love me some good optical zoom on my camera phone. What did you think of the cameras on this device?
They're fine.
They're fine. Okay.
They're fine. Listen, I just finished writing the Galaxy S22 Plus review. I think that is going up tomorrow or something on Gizmodo. And I noticed that, the low light performance of both these devices. Now, they're two different camera sensors. We'll get to that. The one that we're talking about here in the Ultra is a 108 megapixel primary camera. And so what Samsung did with this camera, and this is why it took me a while to figure out this camera system. I actually had a meeting with Samsung after I got this phone to ask them for clarification on it, because I had no idea what I was doing with all these cameras. The 108 megapixel camera, the primary, it does not shoot in 108 megapixels. What it does is it uses the fancy nano-binning technology they talked about, which basically converts, this is how I'm going to try and explain it. It basically converts that camera sensor into the equivalent of a 12 megapixel with ultra pixels. And then that nano-binning array is how it collects the data. That's what it relates to. Okay. And so that's what is contributing to these brighter, clearer photos. But Samsung still has a problem with sharpness. Sharpness is something that, especially in the zoom mode, when I zoomed with the Pixel 6 Pro, and that's a maximum 20x digital zoom, I could still get something that I could share to the internet. I did not feel that way with the zoomed in shots I took with the Ultra. And I did a lot of zooming with this thing. As you'll see on screen, I actually zoomed about a mile away to that final photo that you see all the way on the right. That's about a mile away from my back window. And it's really creepy how well you could see inside of people's windows.
That's pretty cool.
It's cool, but also creepy, just the whole privacy implication. Yeah. But let me tell you where it's cool.
Let's be honest, it's cool.
It is. So if you go back to my review of Gizmodo, you'll see that I actually included a picture of the space zoom on the full moon that we had last week. It was pretty incredible. My gosh. I was really impressed with how much I got from that shot. This was about 7:30
Wait, you took this photo? You took this photo?
Yes, I took this photo with the Ultra from
describe it for our audio listeners, just so they're aware of what we're looking at here.
So I have two photos spliced next to each other. On the right, there's a photo of the moon, and you can see it as clear as if you were looking at it on
that's detailed. That looks.
It looks like a photo. It looks like a photo in the encyclopedia. It looks like a telescope photo. You can see craters and this is I cannot believe you took this photo.
I can't either. And I didn't even take it with a tripod, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
I took it just resting it against the bar of the little balcony I have in my back window. It was really impressive. And that's what so space zoom just means digital zoom. It's just a really kitschy marketing term. And they say it because you can zoom into the moon and take this picture. And it's shareable and it's cool. And then on the other side, too, what I had spliced into that photo was a picture of a Cessna that I saw just out my window, which I used the space zoom for again. And I was really impressed with, I was able to actually tell the model of the plane and, kind of look it up. I actually have a closer picture that I didn't include in this, but it was really impressive what you can do with the zoom. So if you're a nature buff or a bird watcher, I could see you wanting to buy this Ultra just for your archival purposes and just for, having that tool on you at all times. It really is good for that.
Well, and if you're in a studio, so go ahead and show my camera, Burke. Okay, so this is wide. This is 1x. This is, what is the next step up? Is it 2 or 4x? It was probably 2x.
3x.
3x, there we go. This is 10x. So this is the optical zoom, which, so it's optical, right? So when you go in there, like it's super sharp. Like it's not a digital zoom at that point. And then, are you ready for 100x inside of a studio?
Oh boy. Wow, you could look all the way to the back of my sofa.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I have to say, they've improved this feature.
Is that like the monitor that's behind you across the studio all the way? Yeah, it is.
It's that
corner right there on a television about 20, 30 feet away from you.
Yeah, totally. Right. Yeah. So,
That's crazy. That's crazy.
But yeah, so, again, that moon looks really good. I think depending on what you're taking a picture of, if it's something that's really detailed with fine details and everything, that image is still probably going to fall apart. But if it's like a broad kind of thing, at least it's usable. And I remember when this feature first came out, 2 or 3 years ago, it was kind of laughable. But we even said at the time, like, all right, this is one of those features that every year they're going to iterate and they're going to improve. And at some point, we're going to be impressed by the quality of this. And I think it's getting there. It's getting pretty impressive that they can do that with 100x digital zoom. That's pretty crazy.
Now, I want to quickly, Burke, before you load that on screen, let me just preface by saying this. Okay, so you can take a picture of the moon. You could take a picture of a Cessna. You could take a picture of your neighbor's house a mile away. But the night mode, it still has such limitations compared to the Google Pixel 6 Pro, which is the one I tested it against. Same camera system on the Pixel 6. Because Google puts all of the software smarts in there that tells the lens, it says, stay open for up to 4 minutes. And after about 10 seconds, it'll let you stop taking the photo. And then you can let it just keep going for up to 4 minutes. Samsung doesn't do that. It has a maximum shutter open situation that it'll offer to you up to 30 seconds so far. So, Burke, if you wouldn't mind loading this picture on screen so I can show you what the Pixel 6 Pro did last night. It took this animation last night, like of the rain clouds that were moving through.
So this was the Pixel 6? Is that right? Okay.
It's Pixel 6 Pro. Never got anything like this from the Ultra, and it was really disappointing. I could do some cool things with like the expert RAW mode and with the little manual mode that they have, but it never came out something like this. And this is something, by the way, that the camera just spit out automatically on the Pixel. And it just goes down to, it really is a lot of the software doing the work now. It doesn't really matter what you see on the spec sheet. What is the software doing? And Samsung's still working on that.
So what we're looking at, because it's easy to think that's daytime. That's actually nighttime. Is that right?
This is 10:30 p.m. at night last night while it was raining.
Wow.
Wow.
And you can, by the way, if you
I would not guess that.
Look at this, you can actually see the stars above the clouds. It's
I saw a little bit of them poking through. Yeah. It's pretty impressive. I mean, it's a little blurry. I don't know if that's what that is. It kind of looks...
problem with all these night modes, guys, it's hard to get a focus point in the dark.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Cameras will do their best in every situation, but
Yeah.
If you're into astrophotography, just buy yourself a really
right.
You don't buy yourself a smartphone for this. Come on.
But it's cool that you
nice
can.
for,
It's cool
camping.
that you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat. Okay.
Some things to consider.
Yeah. So cameras kind of like, in some ways, really seems like it wowed you. In other ways, it's kind of like, okay, well, you can still do better, which kind of seems to be the Samsung thing with cameras, which is not to say that their cameras are bad, but I feel like with Samsung's cameras, it's like they're always almost the best. You know what I mean? It's like they're right there, but still, at least in the Android world, I feel like Google still ekes it out somehow, over Samsung's wide array of cameras on the back. You have a lot more flexibility with Samsung cameras, but in some situations, it's just not as easy to use, or the quality just isn't quite as good as what you get on the Pixel. That's been my experience anyways.
Yep.
I agree. I am going to end this by saying, there are two other phones, too, that Samsung launched alongside, the S22 Plus and the S22 Reg. That's not what it's called. I just call it the reg for regular.
Why not the reg?
I know I should have said it like that. I really like this. I like this phone and everything that it can do. Genuinely,
Yeah.
I would wield this, but it's too big. So I think this Plus might be more to people's liking.
Okay. And that's
Slightly different camera system.
Yeah,
but
definitely. I mean, you know,
Less holes.
strikingly different, right? Like three
and they're flush
versus-
too with the back.
Yep.
Looks like
Yep.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that doesn't look offensive. Not that the other one looks offensive, but like it looks inoffensive, where the other one looks borderline.
kind of like too big. The other one,
Yeah,
I mean,
too big.
The
Too
Ultra
much.
really looks like a different family of phones by comparison.
does.
right?
It
The
does.
the
Yeah.
S22 and the 22 Plus look like they're cut from the same cloth. The Ultra actually looks like a completely different phone, which lends more credence to the fact that it is a different phone. It's a Note. It's not an S22.